sound also carried on Star FM and Garifuna Radio. We welcome all of you to our program this morning. I'll come back to extend broader greetings, but in the meantime, let me just invite my colleague, Philbert John himself, to greet you. Philbert?
Thank you very much, Cecil. Good morning, brothers and sisters and brethren, and to all persons listening. Yes, as for our neighboring territory around the world, based on the star of Taiwan, we want to as usual, we have interesting discussion for you in store this morning.
All right, Pigeon, and I just want to let our listeners know that, as was mentioned last week, our colleague Joel is not here this morning. He's otherwise engaged. So we believe he might be listening from where he is, if he's still up, or if he's up at this point in time, where he is, you never know. All right, but we are happy to be here with you this morning, and we have a very special guest with us this morning. We'll introduce her fully later, but in the meantime, as usual, we just want to hear up some folks. And also, as you know, we normally take a quick review of the previous program, which means the program last week, Sunday. And as you know, most of you might know that this month, March, in fact, today is March 2, what we consider in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to be Heritage and History Month. A number of important things, both important activities will be held in this month. A number of important landmarks are going to be commemorated here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Of course, we have the Heroes Month and the Heroes Day activities. We would get to some of those, and Pigeon, if you want to highlight any aspect of any of them. But we recognize this month, March, as an important month in our calendar. Last week's program was very informative, and in fact, Pigeon, I don't know if you have, but I have received a lot of positive feedbacks. A lot of people admitting that they heard things from Dr. Scott and Dr. Fraser that they hadn't heard before, aspects of our history. And so they were very pleased about last week's program. And of course, they also embraced the urging of Dr. Carter for those of us who are in media, and especially the government recognized and government sponsored media, to do short snippets of various aspects of our history, especially in this month, History Month. So it would be a good assignment for those who are in media, and especially those who are in social media, rather than posting small things of non-importance, really. When things are said on the program or any other program of interest to the broader population, it is good. It's a good idea. It's a good practice to take out those snippets and help to popularize them, basically. I mean, yes, you do a little bit for the bouncers on social media, Facebook in particular, but beyond that, there are substantive contents and messages which are very useful for the education of the wider population. So we urge you and we encourage you to, whenever the opportunity presents itself, help us to spread the positive messages about life and living and production and development here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So yes, Pijan, last week I got a number of positive comments, and I just want to hear it incidentally. Mr. Kane, former commandant of the Coast Guard, he met me and he told me, I didn't know that he's a regular listener to the program, and he was pleased about last week's presentation. Also, a gentleman, I know him. He's my sister's electrician, Randy, and he told me he listens to the program regularly. So I just want to give him a shout out. And as usual, we have to give a shout out to all our dedicated and seasoned listener. I spoke with Miss Harold in the week as well. Miss Harold, good morning to you, and you hope you're doing well. She called me twice to discuss a particular topic coming out of last week's lecture. Pigeon, you may know what the topic is about. So I just want to give Miss Harold a hail up. No, actually, she called me to discuss two topics. That one and another topic. I think she was listening to Dr. Cox on a different radio station, and she wasn't clear about something he said, so she wanted to clear it up. So I hope I helped her. In any event, subsequently during the week, Prime Minister Gonzalez addressed that particular issue in a full form. You coming in?
You just mentioned Dr. Cox. I think he owes us a visit in the studio.
He does.
Right now.
But maybe he might tell you he's waiting on us to tell him when is the best time to come. Yeah.
I want to know what he's been up to since I think he's retired.
Oh, I don't know. I don't have that information.
I suspect he's now living in I can't remember which of the castle he referred to St. Vincent.
Okay.
But I think this is the winter place.
Winter castle? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, I'm sure if he's listening, or somebody might draw to his attention that you're making the point.
Yeah.
That he owes us a visit here.
This is the other thing I think we should acknowledge from the standpoint of the program and the station, the passing of two significant persons.
Yes.
Everybody is significant, but in terms of public life.
Yes.
Mr. Alan Cruikshank, a former parliamentarian and minister of government. I have an interesting Saboto Cesar, who live in his constituency, who paid a very genuine tribute, despite the politics and despite the rivalry and so on. I think it was very noble of Saboto. Didn't expect anything different, so I just want to acknowledge that. The other person of significance is the former, I think it's ASP or Superintendent of Police, Rosendale Francis, better known as Bongsa. Bongsa and my brother worked together. My brother who's now deceased also a couple of years ago. And they were very close. I just want to acknowledge his passing and may his soul rest in peace.
Well, of course, Pigeon, as you indicated, you're speaking on behalf of the program, Isiutan, and the station, WEFM. And I'm sure there are a number of other people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines who share those sentiments. In the interest of full disclosure, people perhaps never knew it, but Alan Cruikshank is really my in-law. Alan Cruikshank. He was married to my cousin, Deborah. We call her Deb. Alan, you mentioned the tribute that Honorable Saboto Cesar paid. And it's noteworthy that they have come out of the same roots in terms of progressive politics. Alan Cruikshank in the late 70s, early 80s, he was a part of the strong roots of politics in Diamond Village. He was actually connected with that organization, AWI. He was connected with that, where he was exposed to groundings of Walter Rodney. And that kind of tradition, of course, Oscar Allen, Solomon Butler, and Olin Horn, he's come out of that. So that's the commonality in terms of he himself, Alan Cruikshank, and Saboto Cesar.
I find it a little bit you know, not bothersome, but every time those names are called, the Oscar Allen name might comes to my mind.
Yeah.
You can't mention those names without mentioning
Yeah.
Oscar Allen.
Yeah. Certainly,
Yeah.
Alan Cruikshank was a student of Oscar Allen, for sure. I know that for a fact. I mean, in the time when I began to ground with them, Alan Cruikshank was very much around. Yeah, so we mourn his passing and we express condolence to his loved ones. All right.
One last thing,
yeah.
Cecil. The unions, I've seen the newspaper, the unions have decided to take the vaccine mandate case to the Privy Council. I know the SBGTU had a meeting, an emergency general meeting. By the time I got that notice, it was already gone. I didn't really even realize.
Oh, you didn't attend the meeting?
I didn't get.
You didn't get
it was
the-
online. I didn't get to attend
Oh, I
because
see.
I didn't know. I just didn't know. I'm wondering if they were properly advised. I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just wondering. And I'm wondering also if the unions are in a position financially to take the matter right through. Intellectually, as a legal question, I personally don't mind it going to the Privy Council. Okay, but I'm wondering if the resources, we have the resources to back it. I'm not sure, but we could, pay attention to this, to what is going on.
Yeah. Well,
And it also brings to mind our hesitancy, whatever it is, to join the Caribbean Court of Justice in its appellate jurisdiction, so that these issues can be taken there instead.
Rather than-
it will take much less time and would be much cheaper to do. So perhaps the discussion as to accession to the CCJ should probably be part of the discussion we're having now.
yeah. Well, they had 21 days from the 12th. From the 12th, the ruling came down. I think it's from the 12th. So hopefully, I don't know if the 21 days haven't gone yet. So they still have some time to think out their action.
Okay.
But I noticed too that the police welfare was not represented at the press conference that they had to announce, that they held to announce
Yeah.
their decision. I don't know what significance that is. If they're not going to be part of the package. And I dare say I kind of quickly read an article written by, well, it's under the name of Kenton Smith. Kenton, is his name? Brenton Smith. And basically, he lamented the decision, but basically it seems to me that his is a focus on politics, in the sense that he's kind of giving a line that this is election year and people would have to decide something. But yes, interesting times. All right. Peter, and I have to tell you also that these days, just to remind you that your dream came true, man.
What do you mean that?
All Winwood Sports.
There will be an all women sports?
I think it was held in Chile Plainfield.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I'm sure I saw that. Somebody who knows better, please give us a call later on in the program or send us a WhatsApp message to confirm or not. Yeah. Schools, I think,
No.
all the Winwood schools.
All Winwoods in Chile.
Yeah.
That sounds like it makes sense.
I saw it.
And all Leeward in Kingston didn't make much sense.
Okay.
Although I looked at it on television, it was a wonderful experience for everybody who attended it at the fair. But I still have this nagging thing in me about
Should be in Central Leeward.
not being held in the Leeward district,
Yeah.
in a Leeward playing field.
Yeah, I'm sure I saw all Winwood in Chile, held at the Chile Plainfield in Georgetown. So I thought you saw it, and
No, I
you
didn't.
know, it's just remained
Maybe
that
they
you
didn't
dream.
advertise as much as
I don't
Hollywood
think it was. I don't think it was, but it happened. Yeah. Oh yeah. Somebody sent a message to say that yes, he is retired and live home in the winter, meaning Dr. Scott.
Okay, okay.
And that I'm
Dr. Cox.
Cox. Sorry, yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, I was about to say to you, Pigeon, I have a kind of new hero in African hero in the person of Captain Ibrahim Traore out of the, you look puzzled on your face, Burkina Faso.
I'm holding you.
Remember that man who came to power through a military coup that took place in September 2022? A young man. His man is just 36, not even 36. And all of Africa is looking up to this man. All young people, all leaders. Well, in fact, not all of Africa, all of the world is looking up to this man. And in a short space of time, man, the man is introducing some positive policies and programs and telling the French, stay in your yard, basically. Take over, really getting his hand on the way things are running. He is introducing, expanding medical service across the whole country. He just is in the process. Well, he just started a medical hospital just this in the early part of this year. State of the art it will be. He has introduced, well, he's also offering free housing for citizens. He is doing so many things: infrastructure development, industrials in factories. He's just started a tomato factory. Burkina Faso was a major producer of tomatoes, and the tomatoes used to be sent overseas for processing and then sent back to Burkina Faso to be consumed. He said, no, none of that. We can do it here, and we are doing it here, and he has started. That factory is now producing tomato to be canned. And a number of positive things. Peter, you need to go on
I need to
YouTube.
follow up on that.
Yeah.
Look up on that.
Go on YouTube. In fact, I have my good friend who's here. She's more than a fan. She's more than, like, I want to tell you, Cheryl Johnson. You remember Cheryl Johnson? She's following every step, every move that he makes. So she's always sharing stuff with me. But I myself, I go on YouTube and follow him. This man is loved by everybody in Africa and respected by all heads of state in Africa. So I would urge people who are listening and who are hearing and who have not yet done so, please go to YouTube and follow this man, this young man. If he were here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, he would have been a child of the education revolution for sure. And it would be he's in that kind of, that tradition of, well, first of all, he's a Marxist. I have to say that. And he's a strict anti-imperialist to the point where he run the French. Well, the Burkina Faso was a French colony. That's in Mali and Niger. But he tell them, pack up and leave. We would run things. We know how to run things, which is what's happening there. And one thing I love about him, when I was a young boy, I remember we used to have a saying out in Cedars where I lived, Cedars, Bridgetown, Bible. Well, let me say he lives by the Garling principle. You know what that is? You know it. Man, you think, man, you know that.
Garling said trust no shadow.
Garling said trust no shadow. All man are gonna man.
The Garlands, the blind man you walk close beside it and not flying.
Oh, I see. Well, these might be the urban Garlings. Yeah. So if he comes in this room, Pigeon, and he stretches out his hand, not shaking it, he bouncing. That's how he does it. So wherever he goes across the world, he bounces, he touch fits. Yeah, and this man is so popular. And yeah, it gives me joy, man, to know that there's
And there's one important international story we should probably comment on.
yeah.
The meeting between Trump and Zelensky.
Sure, you want to comment on that one?
I'm in my early 60s. I've been following American politics for quite a while,
Yeah.
over 50 years now. I've never seen anything like that in my life. Nothing close.
But no part of the world.
It's just crazy. Especially when he told him, okay, you've spoken enough. And the man just simply keep his mouth shut.
But as if it was planned, because the vice president guy say, you have not even said thanks.
Yeah.
And he repeated it.
And Trump said it to you.
You think Trump is the lethal one? Mr. Vance.
Well, he's the man.
Smooth.
Yeah, he said, there you come in the Oval Office and disrespect the Oval.
And then there's a journalist who asks the gentleman why he's not wearing a suit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't know.
There's a question for that occasion.
But I'm sure he responded to that long time at an earlier point in time, I think, because people have asked him.
Does it matter what the man wears?
Exactly. Well, let him go ask Abraham, Captain Abraham, throw me that question. He would deal with them. They would never be so dare to ask that question of him. This man is so confident and he's good. He's bright and he's very articulate. I'm talking about Ibrahim,
Yeah.
very bright, articulate, and what he's doing, his programs and so on. And that's why I feel so passionate about it. It reminds me of what's happening. It resembles what's happening here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Yeah.
To the White House, like what's his name, they like that and thing.
Trump can't stand up to him. Nah, he's of a different kind of vintage, man. Anyway, that's for another day, Peter. I'm gonna have to get on next week, Peter, and I want to play a few clippings on Abraham.
Okay.
So we, listeners.
I look him up.
Yeah, please do.
Familiarize myself more with what's happening there.
Yeah.
Remember, I don't really consider myself of African descent.
It's a joke. I love it. And the man is in Pigeon. The man is extending an invitation to you and me through a call. Come home to anyone and everyone of African bloodline. He's saying, come home and help in the development. And he's serious. The man is serious.
For those who wondering, I'm Portuguese, so in case you wonder.
Yeah. All right. In the meantime, we want to go on to our main topic for this morning. John, I didn't share with. Did I? No, I didn't. Last week. Oh yeah, I remember last week I bigged up. I know I said bigged up. A few people who work in the radiology department at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. I mentioned Said John. I just want to give him a head up this morning. I also miss Sergeant to just give him a head up this morning. And I thought they were doing such, and still do, I think they're doing such wonderful work there using state-of-the-art equipment. I also noticed, Peter, and I did mention it, that Brother John in particular, young youngster, certainly a child of the education revolution. I spoke with him briefly. He told me he studied in Cuba for about 5 years, I think he told me. And he spoke fluently Spanish, and he was there communicating with his Cuban colleagues, specialist colleagues, and it's just flawless in terms of their communication. So all of that impressed me, and the way they did it smoothly. So I was so impressed, and I've always been impressed. You notice that every time I've gone to the hospital for service, I come back and talk about how well I think the hospital is doing. But I was especially impressed this time when I went for the radiology service, and that is why I thought it would be a good idea to have back in our studio, because she was here before, the person who is in charge of the radiography service, I think, or radiology department there. She can clarify that. And I'm very pleased to be able to have with us listeners this morning the chief radiographer at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. And her name is, in fact, before I say her name, please, we're in the presence of beauty, talent, and even joy, because even when she laughs, you can see it coming out. And skills, So we're very happy to have you with us this morning, Miss Siobhan
Cecil, just
Stewart.
remind you, you need to describe males in similar manner when they come.
Next slide. Like Dr. Scott, for example. I mean, Dr. Cogner, for example. So, Ms. Stewart, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Yes, we're happy to have you this morning. You remind us again, you remember what year you were here with us before?
I am not certain, but I think it may have been early last year.
Early last year? Oh, you were here too?
Yes.
Marlon, okay.
It was myself, Dr. Brandon Richards, head of dental,
Right.
and Mr. Elliot Samuel, head of lab services.
Right. Good. And Dr. Richards, he has a line. I can't remember that. I remember there's something about always smile or something to do with smile.
Yes.
And I've heard it since he was here. I heard him saying it on another program, and I always smile when I hear him say that. Yes, so we're happy to have you on this morning. What have you been doing since you were here last? It's a long time. Good bit.
Oh, we've done a lot. I've been busy.
Yeah,
Very
that's good.
busy.
Good.
We did expand some services since then. I know we would have introduced ultrasound services in Beckway since then. Ultrasound service in both Bookman Polyclinic and Levi Latham Health Center. And even expand ultrasound services and hours in Kingstown. So, yes.
Oh, the service in Kingstown is 24/7, is it?
Okay, so the radiology services is 24/7 available to patients, but it's not available to the public 24/7.
Oh, I see. Okay.
For example, the way we work is, in previous years, we would have had an on-call system from 4 p.m. So if the radiography services were needed, the accident and emergency department would have to call the person on call to come into the hospital. We have since changed that. We now have 3 shifts, a 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., a 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., and an 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. next morning. So there's always someone at the hospital for radiology services. So you don't have to wait on the tech to come in anymore. Now the public can access it from 8 a.m. in the morning to 5 p.m. in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. And from 8 a.m. in the morning to 1 p.m. in the afternoon on Saturdays.
I know some people have concerns about cost. Tell us how it works. I can tell you, for example, when I went there for service, I paid for the actual service and for the report, I paid just under $1,000.
What were you accessing? Which service?
The CT scan. The CT
Okay.
scan. I'm sorry, yeah, CT scan service.
Well, there's X-rays, there's ultrasound, there's CT scan, there's mammography. And if you were to go to modern medical, there's MRI as well. So the cost is different depending on which service you're accessing. For X-rays are the lowest in cost.
I know.
mean,
I had one there too.
we have $10 and $20 extra services at the hospital,
Yeah.
especially if you are coming from within the government system.
Okay.
So it's cheaper for persons who are coming through the government system, which means if you saw a doctor at one of the health facilities, one of the clinics, as we call it, and you are referred from the doctor within the government health system, your cost for the service in terms of x-rays, it's half the cost of if you are coming through the private system. In terms of CT scans, it's a bit more costly because the resources to conduct CT scan is far more expensive. The resources are far more expensive than simple x-rays or even ultrasound. So that's a bit more costly as well.
Although, if I may, Stuart, that just last week, one of my nieces, this one is a non-blood niece, really. She's a doctor in the States, New Jersey, and when we were talking my health, so I told her I'd shared information, and she and her husband are both doctors, really. They thought it was inexpensive for me to have done that CT scan here. They couldn't believe.
Compared to some regional costs and even international, it's very inexpensive. But of course, even as inexpensive as it is, we're still going to have the ones who really can't afford. And there are provisions for that. I mean, you would go to the steward's office and you would let them know your situation. If they have to assign the social worker to you in order to get the necessary courtesies that you can be granted, they will do that. But there are processes in place to help those that really can't. But in comparison to the region and the wider world, our radiology services are very inexpensive.
I'm trying to get to understand, when you say radiology, is that a specific service in itself, or you're referring to a menu of items that are of services that are granted under that heading?
Okay, so
if you could just mention them.
So the radiology department covers all imaging services in healthcare. So you would find x-rays under us, ultrasound, mammography, CT scans, MRI. Those are the services that would fall under the radiology department. And we have decentralized the service years ago. You would only be able to get those. And some of those, we did not have all of those modalities, first of all. And the ones that we had, you were only able to access them at the main hospital. We have decentralized. So we don't have all modalities at all locations, but you can access one or more at most locations. So in Kingstown, at the main hospital, you'll be able to have x-rays, ultrasounds, mammography, CT scan. At Bookament Polyclinic, you would be able to access x-rays and ultrasound. At Levi Latham, you'd be able to access x-rays and ultrasound. At Modern Medical Diagnostic, you'd be able to have x-rays, ultrasounds, MRI. And we are working on getting CT scan in that facility as well. In Beckway, right now you'll be able to get ultrasound. And our new project that we're looking at.
Sorry, and not X-ray in Beckway?
No.
Okay.
Reason being that there's a whole project to do some work on the Beckway Hospital and expand on the accident and emergency area to include a radiology department. So at that time, we will put in, the plan is to put in fixed unit in that department and accommodate x-rays and ultrasound.
Okay.
So that is some logistics and the expansion needs to be done in order for us to put in the extra services there. And we have recently visited the Southern Grenadines, namely Union Island, that they have the Clouden Hospital there, And we have identified a space because we're hoping to take X-ray and ultrasound services to the Southern Grenadines.
Okay. Well, I hope people listening to make their judgment in terms of the expansion of radiology services, and in particular, but also generally health services. Because I find it amazing that. But let me ask you, over what period of time would you say that you have had this expansion in availability of services?
Okay, well, I joined the staff in 2009. I know Modern Medical Diagnostic Center would have opened after I joined staff, and we started there with X-rays and ultrasounds. So they have had that for a while. The Bookman Polyclinic, their radiology services would have come after Modern Medical, and while I was there as well, probably within the last 6-7 years.
Okay.
So did Levi Latham, because I know this because I was part of the retrofitting of the radiology room in those facilities. Beckway ultrasound services would have started a year ago. And where else I said? So, and Kingstown.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have moved. We did a big move because when I started working in 2009, we were still doing conventional radiology. We were still having that film with a dark room with chemicals where just like you would take a photograph and develop the picture, we were still using dark room conventional radiography. We have since changed to digital radiography in all facilities. So every facility that has X-ray has digital. All of our equipment is now digital. We have no more film, dark room, none of that stuff. So there has been a lot of work, a lot of investment by the government in radiology services within the last 6 to 7 years. And we are on par, if not leading in the region. I know people are, when they hear this, they're like, what are you talking about? But when we attend the IAEA meetings and all of that, and they are saying to the other regional partners, you guys need to take a page from St. Vincent, you know, and get your radiology services advanced as they are doing.
I want to come back. Pigeon, you have any question yet?
You go ahead.
No, I want to come back, but I want to ask about yourself, Stuart. You seem to, from what you're telling us, you seem to have been doing this for years and years and years, and you don't look so in terms of your age. But where did you get your training, and how did you get started?
Okay. Initially, my training was done in the US, and it's really strange because I was working as the administrative assistant, secretary there, of the chairman of radiology at the Methodist Hospital in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, yeah.
And Methodist Hospital had a radiography program. It was a 2-year program, Cornell Hospital, and we were graduating batches of students after batches. And then I decided, you know what? I want to get into this. So I applied, I got accepted in the program. I did the 2-year program. At the end of that, you got a diploma because it's a focused program. So I received a diploma, then I worked in radiography in the US. Then I decided to move back home in 2009. I went to work at Milton Cato Memorial Hospital, and the region is a little different where persons know, because at first radiology was indeed a diploma program, but then it moved to a bachelor's program, and persons who were joining staff at Milton Cato Memorial were now coming in with bachelors. And I was like, I need to do a degree completion. So I went to Trinidad to COSTAT, and I did 2 years there. So I moved to a degree completion. So I had a bachelor's in diagnostic imaging from COSTAT. And then a few years later, I became the chief radiographer, and now I'm completing, writing thesis, completing master's in health and hospital administration.
Well,
So how would you describe our technical staff in terms of the quality they bring in relation to their qualification?
We have
Are we in need in any particular area?
we have competent staff. Our staff comes back and they are qualified, and radiography is a hands-on program. So yes, you have the clinical component of it where you have X amount of hours in a facility doing this. But like we say in our profession, you don't master it until you're doing it all the time. So the persons who come back, yes, they're qualified and they do obtain that mastery through doing it all the time. And we are experiencing that. Ultrasonography is not part of the radiography program. Though it's an imaging modality, it is not a component of radiography. So we have some challenges there where radiographers come back and our ultrasound department still sort of lags because they are not skilled in ultrasonography. So we are often struggling to staff radiology. So as of now, our radiologists, thanks to Dr. Ambrose, Dr. Fernandez, Dr. Durbis, Dr. Landa, they're the ones who have the task of imaging for ultrasound. Recently, we've been getting sonographers, because that's a totally different program from radiography. So we've been getting sonographers on the Cuban Brigade to fill some of that void in ultrasonography. But in terms of our radiographers being skilled in the other modalities that fall under radiography, yes, we are comfortable with that. Of course, like I say, you may not have as many, because it's a rotation. So you may have done some MRI imaging in your program, but after you finish that rotation, you never do it again. So when they come to us, we go through that, we do that rotation, have them spend a while in the modality to, regain that skill set. And we move on.
I didn't hear you mention any of the oscopies. I'm saying oscopies because I don't know the entire
The
thing.
oscopies are not mine. The endoscopies and the stuff, those are not mine. I have the
Are there diagnostic services too?
yes, but not radiography diagnostic services.
Oh, okay.
Yes, those don't belong to us, sorry.
Stuart, you seem to have, you're now chief radiographer, and it must have taken something to assign you that area of responsibility. What are some of those things? Yes, tell us about your experience and what are some of those things? Because clearly you're playing a leadership role.
I don't know. At the time that I was appointed chief radiographer, I know that the post that was advertised and we had 3 applicants that were interviewed and I was successful. That was like 5 years ago. I don't know. I guess I think I possess strong leadership skills.
Okay.
Managing people, human resources, is not an easy task. And
I know a number of people would agree with you, by the way. That
yes,
managing people is a challenging task.
it's a very challenging task to manage humans. But I've been blessed. I have a staff that, once we engage them, and I try not to do I am the chief and you are the Indians, and I try to have a more circular form of management where we invite or we have a conversation about it. I listen to their ideas, I share mine, and then we discuss it and see, which is best for the department, and they're included. So because they're included in the process, then I tend not to get a lot of resentment and pushback. And I think that works in my department.
What is age a factor in all of this? Like the age at which the person is?
No,
No?
I am the oldest, yes, in the department.
Okay.
And
You are the oldest?
Yes, I'm the oldest.
You
in
sure?
the
You look so young.
department.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm the oldest in the department. And as of recently, I'm happy because I'm happy you met my Saeed.
Yeah.
So locally, we have 2 male radiographers, Saeed and one John Keel. John Keel is not on staff with us right now because he's in Jamaica
Okay.
studying to become a medical physicist, because
Okay.
through all of these radiology services, it's very important for us to have a local medical physicist, because he is the person that is going to be ensuring that our equipment is actually performing like it should. When we say we are giving out 70 kV of radiation and 4 mass, that the machine is actually working that way, and patients are not receiving higher doses of radiation that they should be receiving for any given examination. So we had to, we were able to secure a fellowship for John through the IAEA. So John is in Jamaica now studying to be a medical physicist. And we have, like I said, we're blessed. We have a very competent staff. Miss Sergeant, who is our senior radiographer. As a matter of fact, right now, I am currently on leave, and Miss Sergeant is the one who's holding the department down. And
she's the one with whom I interacted.
She's the person with whom you interacted, yes.
I recognize her leadership.
Realize the quality of leadership we have there still. So the age difference it's not like that. What I would more count it on is that we have the maturity. I have a mature enough staff to be able to understand what is required of them and to be able to execute it.
Okay. Pijan, you want to come in yet?
Not at the moment.
Okay. I want to go back to the service itself and people's reaction to the service, people's responses. What kind of feedback have you been able to get from people as they use the service, the services?
Persons are happy. Persons are happy because the person who wants a simple x-ray who lives in Mespo doesn't have to come to town anymore to get it. The person who lives in Chateaubelair who needs an x-ray doesn't have to come to town. They can go to Bookament for right now. The intent also is to get some x-ray services in Chateaubelair. So persons are happy. In Beckway, think about it. You don't have to pay the board to come up to get an ultrasound. And the same intent is for Union Island. Our intent with Union Island is to be able to have the services up soonest. We have identified the space. We have done the assessment. We have the scope of works and the estimate. We have to source the lead. Because
the lead?
Yes. Because of the effects of ionizing radiation and it's how it could potentially harm persons, one usually you either have to build a room to specification. So to build to specification is to have 6 feet of solid concrete on all walls, not blocks, solid concrete. In the absence of building to specification, you have to lead line the walls of the rooms to ensure that that radiation is not escaping. So we have to do that to that facility because the identified space was not built to specification. So we have to import the lead. So right now we're trying to source it. We know a lot of these things come from China. And we know with the new president, the struggle of getting things through the US. To
Hold
come
on.
to
Oh, yeah.
China.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, which president you're talking about? You mean the president that we talk about all the time? The man with the president with the T name. Yes.
So we are in the process. We have done the work. We have the estimate. We are trying to source the lead, and so that we can get the room done. We have the equipment. The equipment is in our possession for the identified space. It's just to get the lead in so that we can get the works done to get that facility up and running.
So is that kind of soon that you say, when you say soon? Is that
Yes,
kind of
like soon.
Like
Like soon.
Mhm.
How about the use of online technologies for imaging services and, for instance, transmitting results to physicians?
Right now, we use emails for sending the results. So that's what we say to our patients, our clients, and the images. It is not the transmission of the images through email is not the best service. So as we speak, we are in the process of installing PACS. PACS is the ideal way of transferring images. And we have acquired the PACS. The team was on the ground last week doing the assessment. And Ms. Surgeon informed me yesterday that the completion date for PACS installation is set for the 29th of April. So that is the recommended way. That's the international standard. And
So PACT is a software application, is
yes.
it? Okay.
And we are in the process of doing that now. But we had to make the makeshift option. And the makeshift option was the email. And that's why we were saying to patients that your images and would be at your doctor's office before you even leave the facility, because it's now just a click away.
Okay.
The reports, depending on what modality it is, takes a little longer because we've got 2 radiologists in Kingstown and a lot happening. So depending on the modality, ultrasound reports are issued at the time the ultrasound is done.
I'll give you a joke. When I was there for my CAT scan, a gentleman, I know him from the bank. He's a security person at the bank. So he was there and went in and got hit and came out. And he was standing and we were chatting a little bit. And as we were chatting, a young lady came out from the room and gave it to him. So he said, "Are ready?" That's what he said. He actually said that.
Yes.
"Are you fast, man?"
Yes.
And then he left. So yeah, I mean, I experienced it. I saw it. That's what he said.
Yes.
He's a Gadsman.
Reports.
He works with Gadsman.
Ultrasound reports are issued immediately.
Yeah,
You leave
I
with
saw
your
it.
ultrasound report. CT scan and mammography may take a little while, up to perhaps 2 weeks, depending on what it is.
Mine took a week.
Okay, great. But we try our best to get the patient the report as soon as possible.
So the big envelope, the big brown
Oh
envelope.
no, we got rid of that years ago.
Okay.
We got rid of that years ago.
Yes. How are you able to match resources with acquiring equipment and that kind of thing? I mean, I know it's a big challenge, and maybe I'm asking you to respond to the question, which is, but you've been in the action, so to say. You can give us an idea.
I tell people I'm lucky, I'm blessed, because when we have a need for imaging equipment, my CMO and PS are super, helpful with all of this. So you would express the need, you do the justification, and you present it to the CMO or you present it to the PS, and then they would give guidance on what direction we're going to take. Sometimes we are lucky to be a member state of the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency. So there are projects that are written, and if the project is with the Ministry of Health, and it's a project that we can get equipment under, then we get it there. If we're not able to get it and it's a need, then the government funds it. And I tell people radiology has been blessed. I have been blessed for the last 5 years that I've been there, because in terms of resources.
You mean as chief?
As chief.
Okay, yeah.
I've been there 15, almost
Right,
16
but the
years.
5 years
and
as
stuff,
chief.
As chief.
Okay.
In terms of resources, I can't remember asking for resources and haven't been able to get it. I really can't remember. As a matter of fact, sometimes I want to say to PS, slow down a little, slow down.
Power of persuasion? Oh.
Maybe. Maybe.
That's all part of leadership, I would imagine.
Yes.
Okay.
No, you do proper justification.
Mm-hmm.
You have to request. There are persons who I think sit in offices and they expect, no, you are in that position because you are relied on to present the need and with a proper justification as to why this must be done. And once you are able to do that, you get the resources you need. Well, that has been my experience.
Peter Neal.
How would you describe the state of equipment failure? Is it a particular challenge you may have, and how do you deal with it?
Okay. So we were doing a study last year in terms of equipment failure and what may be causing it. It is not a completed study. We're still in the process. We think a lot of it may be identified to fluctuate in electricity. But like I said, we are not completed the study. But when we have our medical or radiography equipment is covered by a contract with a company from the Dominican Republic. So the government pays that contract, and whenever we have any sort of equipment issues, the technicians, the engineers from that company will come to us. Within recent, we have been able to get the company to see that our radiography equipment fleet is growing. Therefore, to consider an on-island engineer. So they have done that.
Oh,
They
okay.
have hired a Vincentian who now works with that company to ensure that our downtime is reduced to minimum.
Power of persuasion again.
So sometimes with some of those failure of equipment, maybe a ring burst in the equipment, so they have to take it down to replace that and all of that. But the downtime has been reduced drastically. In terms of the bigger equipment, perhaps the MRI or the CT scan, it's more complicated. So one would have to do the assessment, then you'd have to wait on GE to actually send you the parts.
G as in General Electric.
Yes, General Electric. Our equipment are GE.
Okay.
And then, so that may take a longer time, but we now have an engineer on island. The company has done that, and the downtime has been reduced, and it's usually for different reasons.
But it's not anything that the regular customer patient should worry about.
No.
I'm talking about regular patient. While I was here again, when I was there for my appointment, I noticed a number of elderly people coming in and going out, kind of thing. What is the average age? Can you say? I don't know if you can say, of those who receive the service from the radiology.
From 1 day to whatever is the oldest person we have.
Okay.
It's it depends on the modality. We have patients who babies when they're from birth, they need to get an X-ray for some reason or an ultrasound, and then we have the elderly 98, 99 for whatever reason. So there's no age limit. It depends. And if you're in the ICU, we have a portable X-ray, so they wouldn't have to bring you to the general ward.
Okay.
There's a portable X-ray unit in ICU that you would use there. Just like if you're having surgery, there is a fluoroscopy unit. So there's imaging equipment involved in some surgeries as well, and we have that there in the operating theater. So the age from 1 day to however old.
So, Stuart, a hard question for you. How do you compare the service here in Vinci, the service period in all the various modalities? How would you compare that with what you know of that is offered in some of the Caribbean, if not all, some Caribbean countries?
You know, when I moved back to St. Vincent 15 years ago, people said to me, you want to do that? You want to go there? Things are going to be so slow compared to what you know and all of that. I moved back and I know that I am from a small island. So I cannot expect some of the things that I would have had access to back there. But then I came and yes, we had a lot of things that were common to what existed there. And as I said, time changed and we changed out all of our equipment to digital. I have regional counterparts, who do not have digital equipment in their practices. I speak to the chief of St. Lucia, the chief of Dominica, who I guide in the process of how to do it because they want to get like us. A dear colleague of mine in Barbados, he came to St. Vincent, he's a medical physicist, and he was like, when did St. Vincent get there? How did you all get there? So when we compare to the region and even to the outside world, we are there. PACS may have been our only limitation, and we are now working on that. But we are there.
And just to remind our listeners, PACS is the delivery of the service to the patient.
It's the picture archiving system.
Right, yeah.
So it would
Yeah,
what it would do is when you take the image, let's say in Bookament, it's available in Kingstown and wherever, and the radiologist can report on it right there and then. Or if you wanted to send it somewhere else, that would be the...
That is the question I had in mind.
That's what PACS is. So that was our disadvantage. And as I told you, we are currently, it's the hardware for it is on its way to us. And the kickoff meeting for the installation was last week. And our IT team is busy making preparations for what else is required on our end. And the completion date and ready to run for PACS is end of April.
How up to date are our professionals, physicians, for example, in relation to your capacity to deliver service? Are they behind or are they ahead?
No, we have 4 competent radiologists.
I'm talking about the physicians who
in the system, in the broader system.
In the broader system?
Yeah. Private, public.
Well, the physician's responsibility is to request the service and then wait for us to do it and send them the report.
But are they all in a position to accept digital reports and the digital aspect of your service?
Yes, most persons. What we use right now is we put the image on a CD or we may put it on a thumb drive. And there's a little software thing that comes with it. So when you install it in your computer, you have to click and open that in order to see the image. So one or two times we may have physicians who saying, oh, I'm putting it in and I'm not able to get it. And we just say to them, did you click on that? Because you have to click on that first to be able to access the image. And it's a simple fix.
But what I'm trying to get at is, as you move ahead with these technological developments, whether that's our service providers, physicians, for
moving
instance.
ahead with us? Yes, they're moving ahead. They're anxious. They're engaged. They are happy that we're advancing. So they are very often informed what's happening, and they're aware and anxious and moving forward with us too. So we're not leaving anyone behind.
So the health service in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is advancing.
Of course, we know this. We have specialities we never had before, more doctors than we never had before. You know, when persons speak, sometimes you just have to laugh.
No, invite them to listen to Easy at Hand. This is where they will get the authoritative information.
Yes.
Yes. Looking ahead, Stuart, to the facility that's going to be that's being built at Honnesville. How would you see that facility, the services offered at that facility, complementing or advancing, if you like, what is already in existence?
Well, I have something I say to PS all the time. My goal is that every time we introduce somewhere or something, we go a step further. So my hope is that the new facility is going to be able to have an additional reach of some kind that we don't have already. You understand? And there are other radiology services that exist, and we are hopeful. We are hopeful that the new facility would be able to offer those.
All right. So we have a few comments which I want to read before I invite people to call us and ask their own. Okay, this first one is saying, "Good morning, all. Very interesting discussion. I'm very proud of that young lady." You know, this person agrees with me. That young lady. "I'm interested in a cost comparison for services. Example, X-rays, now that it is done digitally. Notwithstanding the obvious subsidization by the government to the patients, has the service been any cheaper to provide based on the new use of cutting-edge technology?" I think it's talking about, whereas before you used to have to use the film and the processing of speech and the envelope kind
No,
of thing.
it's actually more expensive.
Now,
Yes.
okay.
It's way more expensive.
That brings to mind the annual budgetary allocation. Is it ever enough? And to what extent does user fees contribute to the overall budget?
Well, that wouldn't be a question for me. That would be more a question for the PS
Oh, okay.
to answer. But
Cut nights.
Mr. Knight,
Mr.
Mr.
Knight.
Knight.
Cut.
That's my student, so I'm actually calling him out. I know
Yes,
he's
that would
listening.
be a
He may be
question
listening.
for
I know
Mr.
he's
Knight.
listening. He always listens to our program.
Yeah, I know. So he may,
So
he
he
may
could
respond.
probably make a contribution.
But maintenance contracts are not cheap. Our maintenance contract in radiology alone is well going on, if not more than about 200,000 US dollars a year. It's not cheap.
But it is done given its importance for health, maintenance
Yeah,
of
it's
health.
done given its importance for health, and one may argue. You will hear the argument from others of why don't you then train locals
The locals are being trained
to do that?
Oh,
No, to do the engineering, the maintenance on the equipment, so that we don't have to pay the contract. Well, here why. These companies are really smart. So first of all, who has to train? It's their equipment. So in order for the person to be trained to work on their equipment will mean perhaps that the person needs to go to the GE Academy. That's where they train their engineers. How costly is it to go to the GE Academy? Of course, they don't want outsiders there. So are they even accepting? Then secondly, if even they're trained to fix the equipment, then there's the parts component. And they make the parts component without the actual engineering physical person part attached to it. So expensive that it doesn't make sense. Might as well you just take the package that comes with the engineer because if you have to buy the tube by itself, the cost of the tube by itself, when it doesn't come under that contract, doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So a few more comments. Hi, good morning to all in the studio. Yes, he's retired. Oh, that's the earlier discussion, Peter, about Dr. Cox. And he left home in the winter. And the person saying he watched some sports in Georgetown. It was all Windward, but somebody corrected and said it's on the 7th. The all Windward sports.
It will be on the 7th.
It will be on the 7th.
Okay.
Okay. What else is here to read? Oh, yes, our good friend said, yeah, he sent the promo for the All Windward Sports. Says here, I read it. All Windward's Athletics Championship 2025. And it gives the price. Primary, $5. Secondary, $10. Adult, $15. And the schools are Georgetown, Emmanuel High School, Mespo, Thomas Saunders. Secondary schools, George Stevens, West St. George, North Union, Central. Oh, no, these are invitationals. Yeah, I think they are, because they have Central Leeward as well, Pigeon. It's happening at the Chili Plain Field, just next to the Modern Medical.
Just to explain, what happens is that one or two schools out of the district tend to appear as invitational.
Where it seems so.
Like, for instance, St. Martin's Secondary appeared at Hollywood recently, last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there it is, your dream. You've been calling for this for the longest while. And your dream has been, and your call has been answered. Okay. So, yes, so we want to invite persons who are following the program to send us messages, if you wish, WhatsApp, or call the program. Later on, you might be getting a call from Prime Minister. But in the meantime, if you have a comment, an observation, a question, the number to call is 457-9997. 457-9997. That is also the WhatsApp number where you can send message or messages. Or you can call us there as well on that WhatsApp number. All right. So until we get a call or until we get another message to read, I'm going to go back to Stuart. Okay.
I have another question. In looking at potential recruits to radiology services, do you see anything happening that could give you hope that we'll always have Vincentians who are trainable, educable in the area?
Well, I in an API interview about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I actually made a call for young Vincentians to look at radiography as a potential profession, because we have seven local radiographers, 8 including myself, in the government service. And we have 4 student radiographers. 2 are actually in university and 2 are still with us. We're hoping that when those 2 that are at university return, that the 2 that's with us will actually go off to university. We have one young lady who just returned from Jamaica. She wasn't with government prior to going to study, so we would hope that we'll get her on staff. And even if that takes us to 10 or 11, that's still not enough. Like I told you, we have expanded our services. We continue to expand. and we're running 3 shifts. So we are not there yet. We are encouraging young Vincentians to consider radiography as a profession.
At the C2 CAPE levels, what subject area should they follow if they're going along that path?
Physics, for sure. That's usually physics and another science are requirements to enter the program. So ensure, with the basic English and math and other things, make sure that you do have physics and one other science. And it's offered, there's the program in Cuba, where one can go for 5 years. There's the University of the West Indies, Jamaica. That's a 3-year program. And then there is COSTAT in Trinidad, which is more of a 4-year program. So there are those 3 options, if you don't want to go to the US, that persons can consider.
Do you engage in any kind of outreach to potential students, such like career days and that kind of thing?
Yeah, when we are invited to a career day, we do go. We would like to have more invitations, and it depends, because sometimes it could be a challenge too, because we run a tight ship in terms of having persons available to attend those things. But once invited, we try to make it happen.
We have a call on the line. Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Yes, good morning to the panel.
Good morning to you.
I was listening to you some time ago.
Sorry, repeat the first part. Repeat the first part.
I was listening news,
Yes.
and I heard they have a test for prostate down at the Milton Key. Is it easy to done?
And
So
you
I
heard they
think
have
it's
a
like
what?
test-
Sorry, you heard they have a
test
what?
for prostate cancer. For prostate cancer.
Oh, something for prostate
Test
cancer.
for prostate.
A
yeah.
test?
Yeah.
He's probably
Well, they
referring
say
to a lab test.
So what's the question?
I don't know if you could come in and do it yourself, or you get a prescription from the doctor to come there.
I imagine you'd have to get a prescription from the doctor, Stuart. Sorry.
Yes, if it's an ultrasound of the prostate, you would still need a request from the physician. If it's a lab test for the prostate, you would still need to have a request to take to the lab.
Oh, so I have to go to the doctor, and the doctor will
Yes.
tell me there.
Yes,
Okay, thank you very much.
you're welcome.
All right, my friend. Thanks for calling. Yes, this person's asking, did Ms. Stewart say SVG offers radiation treatment? That's what the person's asking. For cancer, I think.
I think Dr. Taylor, there's some radiation treatment going on, but it's not through radiology department.
Oh, I see.
Yes,
Okay.
that would be through oncology. So Dr. Taylor, I think, is the head of oncology department. So they would need to reach out to Dr. Taylor, and they can also reach out to Modern Medical, because I think it's also done through Modern Medical.
So there's a difference between radiology service and radiation therapy.
Yeah. Well, the radiation therapy we have now is through oncology. The bigger radiation therapy that would involve bunkers and all of that, if we were to have those services, they would be under radiology, but we don't have those services.
All right. In the meantime, another question. Good morning, all. I'm listening from Canada, and I'm very happy with the things I am hearing that's happening in healthcare, especially in the radiography department. My question is, as it relates to costs for these services, can Ms. Stewart provide any information as it relates to prices for the services in SVG compared to other Caribbean countries / OECS? Before you do, let's take this call and we'll come back to that.
Sure.
Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning. This is Gerald Thompson, Dr. Gerald Thompson.
Dr. Thompson, greetings to you.
Yes, greetings.
Welcome to the program.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Wonderful program. And, you know, I have had an opportunity to practice medicine in many parts of the world, in Metropolis, in New York, and going out to small parts of the United States, you do not find this sort of equipment. You don't find this sort of, it's primarily available in big cities. Sometimes they have it in trailers that come through from time to time. And so the services that are being offered in terms of CAT scan and MRIs and so forth is really magnificent. But the question I want to ask is something that may have been touched on already, but a clarification of the downtime. Because of the need for maintenance, because of the need for going through the process of just like a car, you know, carrying it into the shop for an oil change and air filter change and those sort of things. The maintenance program for the equipment, mainly CAT scan and MRIs, how much downtime should one really expect in our circumstances? Even though you now have an engineer on the ground and you have a contractual agreement with GE, there's still some time in which there would be some downtime. I wanted to get a clarification. I know you touched on it, but I think it's something that's very important because, you know, often somebody call me, oh, I was supposed to go for a CAT scan and the CAT scan is down. But they themselves, the person may not be double checking that in a matter of a couple of days it's back up and running. And therefore they think it's down and it's going to be down for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 times. It's not working at all. It's gone obsolete or so. So I wanted just to get a clarification on that. What is the standard here in St. Vincent and Grenadines in terms of average downtime, what it has been and what do you expect, what do you aim for? Yeah.
Okay, to answer that question, the downtime depends again on the modality and the issue that the equipment is having. We can have downtime of a few hours because it's down at the moment and we just need to get the engineer in and he just come and tighten something or loosen something and we back up. Or it can be a case where he does an assessment and we have to get the parts. He sends that off to head office and head office orders the part and it takes about a week to get to us. The engineer does his fix and we're back up. And sometimes, depending, it's even further because we've had issues where MRI had a long downtime for a while, but we had to do a whole kind of reconstruction in order to bring up MRI services.
Yeah. What are the routine stuff in terms of your normal maintenance aspects? How often would that
we have
create a downtime? And is that downtime short, a matter of a couple of hours, do you say, or is it usually a day or so or something like that?
We have protective maintenance on our equipment once in every quarter. So we have each equipment has a protective maintenance day where the engineer will put down the machine. Nothing is wrong with it. This is protective, making sure we do our checks that nothing happens. If it's a corrective maintenance, it may take longer, but preventative maintenance, a few hours, and we back up. And the corrective, as I said, is depending on what is the issue. It could be a few hours to maybe 2 weeks.
Thanks for calling.
You are doing a great job. Great job.
Thanks, Dr. Thompson.
Okay, sorry. So yes, the person on the WhatsApp is asking for the comparison in price across Caribbean OASIS countries, but I think you've done it twice already. But you can go again.
I'll give some general information. Okay, so X-rays are within $10 to $40, $60. And that may be for it to get to $40 or $60, maybe you are X-raying two places, the chest and abdomen, because the average X-ray is about $20 in government service, $40 if you're coming from the private doctor.
Stuart, can I take the call?
Sure.
And we'll get back to that. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ryan, Mr. Pigeon, and Dr. Sergeant Karen Mahoney.
Stuart, Miss is not quite doctor yet. Stuart, Miss Stuart. Good afternoon to you.
Yes. One question I would like to address. Now, if you in the process of doing these examination and so on, and current codes for a day, I case maybe, and you're in the midst of doing this process and current codes, what will be the result of that? Will that be spoiled and you have to start over again?
Hey,
So it depends on the location you're at. We do have generators at some facilities, and the equipment may or may not be on the generator, depend on the load that the generator is carrying. At MCMH, I know we have equipment on the generator. I know that at Levi Latham, I don't think our X-ray there is on the generator there. I think Bookament was recently put on the generator, and I'm not certain of Modern Medical. So it depends on the facility, and it also depends on the equipment itself, because the main hospital has a lot of equipment, and we depend on the generator load. So some of the equipment are on the generator and some are not. So depending on the facility you go to, you may not be able to get it. I know that we are working on getting all equipment on the generator. So I ask that you just bear with us.
And second question, to do these tests and so on, they have to be recommended by a doctor.
Yes, because radiation is considered a drug, it has damaging effects. It is recommended that you get a prescription to get X-rays. The radiation dose of mammography is really, really little. So we have now introduced a self-referral path for mammography. But in terms of X-rays and CT scans, no, you would have to get a request from the physician in order to get those done.
All right. Thanks very much for your explanation. And the program is very, very good because Mr. Brian, I normally listen to your program here and I listen every Sunday. So very good program.
thank you very much. Continue listening. All right, then. Good. Bye-bye. Okay. Did I cut you? I think I cut you when you were saying
looking at the
something.
comparison.
We were
of
looking at the
prices.
cost.
And I have to ask you to wait again because
Yeah,
it's
I'm not really gonna compare, but I'm gonna give an idea of the cost.
all right.
So like I said,
Oh, before you do,
Another call
yes,
again?
Yes. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, my name is Philbert.
Oh, Mr. Stay, greetings. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I just want to ask a question in relation to the prices that you have. My question is specific. I know that there will be a price range, but if you're a child, if you're elderly, or if you are referred from accident and emergency, does it make any difference in the prices that the individual or the patient has to pay?
yes. If you are a child, and I think it is on the
Yes, I would like some
16,
explanation of that, please.
and I think it is on the 16 or 18, you're exempted when it comes to X-rays. And I think there may be a discounted price, if I could remember, when it comes to CT scans. If you're an elderly, over a particular age, you are again exempted depending on your ability to pay or given a discounted price for some exams. So if you are referred from accident and emergency, you get the examination done right away. Nobody discusses cost with you because you're not in a position then to have a conversation of cost. So the exam is done. And then when the information is sent to the steward's office, based on which criteria you are in, based on your age or whether you're indigent or not, the adjustment is made then on whether you're exempted or whether the cost goes on your hospital bill.
But just in case you are not a patient, you have an accident, you had to do an X-ray, and then you are discharged after you have done that imaging or that X-ray. You're not a patient as such on ward at the hospital. Does it make any difference?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So if you are under the age, you get exempted. It doesn't go on your bill. If you are an elderly person and you're in the exemption category, you get exempted. It doesn't go on your bill as well. But if you are within the pain category, it goes on a hospital bill, which you can collect from the steward's office after you've had the service. But nobody bothers you at the time that you're in accident and emergency. That is not the priority then. The priority then is to give you service. And then you may get a bill after that.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for calling. Yes, just to continue some of these messages. Oh, sorry, you're giving some.
So yes, for
Okay.
ultrasound.
I'm sorry, Miss Stewart. I have to ask you to hold on.
I guess.
Yes,
That's
because the calls
okay.
are coming in. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Franklin Brown Frankie.
Mr. Franklin
And I
Brown.
just want, yes,
Welcome.
I just want to say that the equipment that they have there are very good equipment. I use the facility every now and then. And when I send my results away, the doctors are impressed with the results, the quality of the results. So they are doing a good job down there. And the cost is very cheap in comparison to the US, because I use the facility in the US and it is very expensive. I mean, CT scan is like 3,000 US as compared to St. Vincent, which is about 1800 EC. With,
I paid 1,000. Sorry, I paid 957 last week.
No, the one that I use with.
I see. The particular one. Okay, fine. You could do the ordinary one, and there's I can't remember the term.
You had contrast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The contrast is normally cheaper.
No, without contrast is cheaper.
Yeah, without contrast. And sometimes I go there, and the people there would tell me that I don't need the contrast. And sometimes, depending on the test you're doing,
yes,
they would advise that you do the contrast. So the country is providing a very useful service. I mean, it cut the cost of you going away, because I mean, you have to think about airfare and hotel accommodation, and the fact that they're getting it done here reduce the cost tremendously. And I just want to big up Chevron and the other staff for the good work they are doing, and keep shining.
You mean Chevron in our studio right now, right?
Yeah, I know.
No. I'm asking you to clarify. You're picking up Chevron on the program right now.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Doing an excellent job.
Okay.
Excellent job.
Thank
And the
you.
people out at Modern Medical, Miss Walker, are doing an excellent job. All right.
Thanks for calling. Have a good day. Right. All right. Yes. So,
Yes.
Stuart,
So ultrasound, $20, mammograms, $30, CT scan. It depends on the anatomy.
okay.
You might get a brain. If you're doing a brain, it would fall in the $800-900 category.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing a chest, non-contrast, if you're doing abdomen, pelvis, that's 2 studies.
Okay.
Then we're up to $1,800,
Mm-hmm.
$2,200. But when you compare those costs against those of international countries, it's a lot cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And very often we encourage persons, get your study done here and take it with you if you need to go abroad for any reason, because then you save some money on cost.
Okay. Your call on the line again. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
But turn on the radio.
Yeah, turn it down quick because it's causing a
Hello,
feedback.
good
Good afternoon.
day.
Good afternoon. Yes.
Doctor, I would like to
Well, hold on.
Doctor,
She's not
I'm
doctor.
if she
She,
could.
she's not doctor, but she's
Not a
head of
doctor.
the radiography
Department.
department.
Okay, if she
But
can speak more about fibroids, because a lot of us women are
no,
struggling
No,
with it.
that's not in my jurisdiction. I'm sorry. I can speak to
Okay,
radiography services.
okay. All right,
Sorry.
thank you.
Maybe Mr. Ryan should get you a
It's all
doctor
yes.
to speak about
On the-
fibroids on the program.
all right,
it's
my
all
friend,
right.
we'll consider that. We'll look at that. All right.
Well, Mr. Ryan, could you please do that?
We'll
We need some information on that. A lot of women is struggling with that, and we really need some education on that.
and you think a lot of
So
women are
please
listening
do.
to the program if we bring a doctor on?
Yes, at least I'm listening every Sunday.
Okay, good to know that. For your sake, we'll try and get a doctor on.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you very much for calling.
All right.
Interesting. Yes, back to you.
Yes. So it's affordable. It's we give quality imaging. We do. We are a part of a very important part of your whole medical, like we are the eye of medicine. We are relied heavily on. The doctors value our service to make their decisions in terms of how they should treat the patient going forward. We do not take our responsibility lightly. We understand the responsibility we have, and we do our best to offer our service in a professional manner, in a timely manner, and with warmth to our patients.
This person is asking asking for you to comment on the safety aspects when working in the department. I believe in as much as you're talking about lead in the
Okay. So, like I said, the rooms, the area that radiography is done is it is a controlled area. So we ensure that only the persons who are to be in the rooms are in the rooms when they should be there. Apart from that, we have lead devices for those who may need. We have lead aprons, we have thyroid shields. So if we are, let's say, doing for some reason, we must do an x-ray of the cervical spine on a patient who is pregnant. We will give that patient a lead shield to put around from abdomen down to make sure that baby is safe. We would also give them a form to sign so that they have consented to us doing the procedure under the conditions that we're doing it. Our staff has radiation monitors. So they have these little radiation monitors that they wear on their clothing. We get them from ISENS in Jamaica, so it monitors their radiation dose. We send them back to ISEN to do the calculation, and they send us new ones twice a year so that we keep track of our staff and their radiation exposure.
This person saying good morning, and my question, I'm asking a question. I'm a Vinci living in Barbados. I now found out that I have cataract in my eyes. Do they have to do surgery at home because it's very expensive here in Barbados? So I don't know if that's in
That
your...
person would have to find the ophthalmology team
Yes, all right.
to see if they can get some guidance there.
Okay, so I hope he's listening still. Okay. Okay, a call is coming by.
So let's see, we have to bring another panel of specialists
Yeah.
because people have questions that they need answers to.
But in the meantime, this is another WhatsApp message saying, good morning to you all. Well, it's a call, so I have to stop to take the call. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm well, and you well? Yeah.
My name is Ellsworth John. Listening to your program and find it very interesting.
Yes.
Very informative. It's in Cuba, a lot of persons who are referred to Cuba for medical services they are referred based on the information that is provided by the lab in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And that is the basis on which the treatment that is offered to the patient made. And it's very rare that in Cuba it is necessary for the hospital to have the additional cost of doing the examination again, because that service is provided very efficiently and very effectively in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Are you hearing me?
We're hearing you and we're listening. Very clear. We're hearing you and we're listening attentively.
I think sometimes we underestimate the level and quality of the service that is provided in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And as Siobhan referred to earlier, Miss Stewart referred to
it's all right.
The cost of the medical care in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is very cheap compared to even Cuba. And definitely, when she referred to the fact that in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, once you're referred for care and for tests to be done, it is done without any questions asked, because the premium in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is on providing the service. And even within the OECS countries, because at one point I was commissioner to the OECS and therefore knew what obtained across the OECS. Even within the OECS, persons were being asked, in terms of how the payment is going to be made before the service was given. Always provided before questions are asked with regards to remuneration. So I just thought I would make those observations. The reason sometimes why it is necessary to refer patients to Cuba for medical is not because necessarily the service is better in Cuba, but there are some equipment and treatments that is available there that we do not have in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And so for that reason, the patients are referred to places like Cuba, Trinidad, wherever. It has to do a lot with economy of scale. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, for example, how many persons you would need for brain surgery? So having a brain surgeon in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is not something that you would say is essential. Yes, there will be a need for it from time to time, but not something that is essential on a continuous basis. So sometimes a person gets referred because of the specialists and the number of specialists that we have in particular areas. I don't know if what I have said is contributing in any way.
Of course, yes, definitely. Are you in Cuba at the moment?
No, I'm in St. Vincent.
Okay, then. I just want to wish you all the best.
But just to remind our listeners who you are, so you could give us, state your full portfolio and so on and so forth for the program this morning.
Ellsworth John, I'm St. Vincent's ambassador to Cuba.
All right.
At the moment.
Hi, Mr. John.
Okay.
Welcome home.
Hi, Siobhan. Thank you.
Enjoy it. Enjoy Vinci, as usual. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, then. Good.
You're welcome.
Good. All right. Yes. So I was reading this message from somebody who says, good morning, and I have to take these calls before I continue my message. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Good morning to the panel.
You sound foreign because it's afternoon by us here.
Afternoon. Okay. Afternoon.
Greetings.
Yes, it's 12:20. Yes. Good afternoon. Sorry. I do not know what I missed because
Well,
my
the voice sounds very familiar. I think I know the voice, but just remind us who the voice is. Whose voice is
Audrey
it?
Gittins.
All right, good. I thought so.
I do not know what I missed because my internet was in and out. But two things I would like to say, if they were not already said, and if they were said already, I apologize. I do not know if Ms. Stewart informed listeners that in the past, before she became the chief radiographer,
Yes.
we did not have 24 hours radiology services at the Milton Keyto Memorial Hospital. The ambulance had to go to somebody's home after working hours, midnight, 1 o'clock, 3 a.m. Whenever the service was required in an emergency situation, the ambulance had to leave base to go to that individual's home, the person who was on call, to get them to come back. And we know that in emergencies, in healthcare generally, every second counts. With Ms. Stewart becoming the chief radiographer, I believe that she now operates a shift system where somebody is always available, where the ambulance does not have to leave base where it could be needed for another emergency. Somebody is always available, so that prompt service is there for a few years now since she became chief radiographer, and I highly commend her for that, because sometimes the ambulance is out and there is a call to attend to an emergency. That is an excellent service offered to persons. Second, in relation to the cost of healthcare, I do not know the cost of healthcare everywhere, and certainly not everywhere in the region. But speaking about what I know, undoubtedly, healthcare in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a dead giveaway. It is a dead giveaway. Persons indicated that even with insurance policies, with health insurance, the out-of-pocket cost is still far higher than the cost they would pay in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So we have had people living overseas who have health insurance. We have had Vincentians coming home, and this is a fact, to have procedures done because of the cost. And I do not know the extent to which we really let people know. We talk about healthcare, this, healthcare, that, and Milton Keyto, this and that. Milton Keyto gives away practically. Healthcare services is practically free in comparison to what is available to people. $5 for this test, $5. Where else is that happening? Where else is that happening? Nowhere but St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we must give credit where credit is due. We take it for granted, but we should not. We should look around, we should seek, we should understand, we should read, and we will know. So, Ms. Stewart, in relation to radiography, I just want to say thank you for the sterling service you continue to offer to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You've expanded radiology in areas where people previously had to go and pay $6 to come into town to have an X-ray done, to have a mammogram, to have this done, to have that, not mammogram, to have other radiology services done. Had to pay transportation, find lunch. And I want to thank you very much on behalf of everybody who's received the service and who will. We appreciate what you have done and just ask you to just continue to serve people. Thank you very much. That's all I have to say.
And thank you very much for calling. Have a good day. I think it's a good time for me to read this message, finish it to the end. The person saying, good morning to you all. Please tell Ms. Stewart that I'm very impressed on how articulate, competent, and knowledgeable she is. All the best to her and her team.
Thank you.
And the person goes on saying here, that is so true. Healthcare is a dead giveaway. Or I think the person must have listened to Giddens. I have some friends who live here and are not Vincentians, and always talk about how cheap the costs are. There you go. All right. Yeah.
And let me give some more information because I got a few messages myself, so I can clarify some things.
Okay.
Our CMO welcomes the person in Barbados who needs ophthalmology service. Come on over.
Good.
You
I hope
can
she's
get
listening.
that done here
Yeah.
in St. Vincent. And you had asked earlier about do we do career days? The
Pigeon.
Ministry of Health is organizing one this year. So at that one, we would make sure that radiology is there. So all who has questions concerning radiography as a profession can get the answers that they're looking for.
All right.
I would have touched before on Chateaubriand, and I want to again touch on that to let people know that we do have plans to take radiography services to Chateaubriand. So don't feel left out at all.
Okay. All right. I think I'm expecting a call any moment now from the PM. So we can, in fact, it might be this very one. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
This is Ralph.
Prime Minister, greetings. Welcome.
Chevron, all the best to you and Cecil and P. John. I've been listening to you all morning to the afternoon. It's an excellent program. I'm very happy that you have on the chief radiographer, and I'm happy also in the early part of the program to big up the dental services.
Yes.
And Dr. Richards. I had Dr. Richards come by me about 2 weeks ago to give me a detailed review as to what they're doing in dental services, and just as what under Chevron's leadership we are seeing also at dental services, tremendous decentralization and the extent of the services, the numbers of persons who are there in dental services involved in delivering dental care. It's, from, I think you got about 7 or 8 persons when we arrived in office. Is now about 40 persons employed there. And you can get top class dental services at the polyclinics, the hospitals, all across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I want to mention issues concerning the cost. And if I may be permitted, Cecil, to give some global numbers.
Yes.
The recurrent expenditure on health is around $100 million a year. In fact, we budget this year just over $100 million for the recurrent expenditure. And it's one area where you usually have some excess in expenditure, particularly in relation to pharmaceutical products and supplies. And we have this year over $97 million for capital spending. I just want to remind everyone, when we do the capital expenditure in health, most of that money on the capital expenditure side, we borrow and we have to pay back the money. But when I give you the numbers, you would see all the points which have been made by Chevron, by you, by Elzo John, who called in, by Dr. Gittens, who was once a permanent secretary in health, and she was the chief nursing officer. All of them who have been speaking, they're speaking the truth to this matter which Vincentians take for granted. How much money we are going to collect? and how much do we collect on an ongoing basis? We actually collected $3.7 million from the hospital services throughout the country in the whole year in 2023. You hear that number, Pijan?
Yes, 3.3 million.
3.7 million.
3.7.
This year, we are budgeting to collect 4.5 million. Not from any increase in fees, but from usage. And out of this amount of 4.5 million, roughly $500,000 is for the clinical rotation fees paid by the medical schools. So when you talk about the rest, you're talking about 4 million expected to be collected this year, and we are spending 100 million, over 100 million recurrent. That is to pay salaries, to keep things running, do repairs, maintenance, and so on and so forth, and $97 million in capital. Most significant contribution on the capital side there would be the expenditure what we are putting into the hospital out at Arnesville. What are the numbers otherwise? In 2023, we collected just about $1 million for radiology services throughout the country. And this year, we are estimating to collect just over $1.2 million. And for hospital laboratory fees, about $1.6 million. Well, hospital laboratory fees, a lot of people who go and get blood tests and so on there, it's not just because of their any particular illnesses which they're dealing with. But very often people, when they're doing employment overseas, in fact, also, Chevron, also the radiology fees, their employees, such as those on the ships and the like, they want
Workers.
the farm workers. This is part Pigeon, and some otherwise you wouldn't have been having those numbers as high. Let's look at some things which are absolutely free. In Georgetown at Modern Medical, we provide free services for hemodialysis. As people with chronic kidney problems and who need dialysis in order for them to live. There are at the moment 60 patients up there. It costs us Bijan, nearly $80,000 per year per patient. $55,000 out of that per year is just for the disposables, because people have to go 2 or 3 times a week. You understand, Pijan?
Yes.
Cecil?
Yes,
We
for
pay,
sure. I know.
we pay because in addition to the disposables, you have to pay for the water, you have to pay for the electricity, you have to pay for the staff, and you have to put something there towards, if you're doing it properly, the amortization on the loan for the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
There's some persons who, even And I want you to hear that. There's some persons who even get assistance with transportation, a small number.
Oh.
Because if you have somebody who is indigent, to get them, to get them, for instance, from Bible to Georgetown, they have to have somebody take them.
That's right.
Before these services, you're dead. If you didn't have the money to go to
literally.
If you didn't have the money to go to Barbados, but you had to pay airfare to go to Barbados. This is why you get the nonsense from some persons that are saying, well, why did you take the services up there? Why didn't put it in Kingstown? They have, when persons come from Beckway. So when they came from Beckway from before, what happened? How they got to Barbados? You know what I mean? And what about the people in Georgetown who had to come to Kingstown? But I just want to say that when the hospital is finished at Hannesville, they would also have top-class facilities for hemodialysis. By the way, I think that you do a limited, and you can correct me if I'm wrong about the Chevron, I think you do limited amount of dialysis down at Milton Cato Memorial.
Yes, PM.
But the major facility. And when Georgetown was affected, we did it up at Evesham. You remember?
Yes.
Because when suffer time. You want to do an endoscopy or a colonoscopy up in Georgetown. Cecil, take a guess as to how much it would cost. In the United States, it costs $1,500, $1,700. Barbados, U.S., Barbados, it costs that amount too.
Okay.
Tell me what you guess it costs in Georgetown for colonoscopy or an endoscopy.
Well, I think it would be less, but I don't know because I've never used that service, PM. But anything on that?
Bijan, I just want to give you a try a guess now.
I have no idea, sir.
$40 EC.
40, Prime Minister?
I'm telling you, call what's her name?
Idinga.
Call Idinga Miller, the manager, who's doing a fantastic job at the hospital.
Yeah. Prime Minister, I can guarantee you there'll be lines from this week, from tomorrow. People will be calling for appointments.
There are people who leave Barbados and come here and do colonoscopies.
Well, in fact, Prime Minister, even as you're speaking, a friend of ours from Beckway, in fact, Kozia, she says she paid $40 in Georgetown for a colonoscopy.
She just texted you and told you that?
She right now, the first message.
Well, I'm glad she did that.
Yeah.
You know, the Pigeon, throughout the whole of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, at all the hospitals, including Milton Cato, the total amount of money annually which is paid in hospital fees is just $800,000. You go to the hospital, you spend the nights there, the days there, you get fed there. Bijan, there's a hospital with the hospital down on Modern is, I think it's 207 beds, if I'm not correct, 210 beds. Isn't that the number thereabouts?
Yes.
Chevron?
Yes, PM.
Yeah. Look.
And by the way, Prime Minister Lucille added impeccable service as well.
Well, you get excellent service. What happens sometimes, you take, I just want to I just want to indicate, you know how many doctors we have down on Milton Cato alone? Nearly 100. You hear that number?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yeah.
And in terms of consultants, I think it's 22. I'm going to try and find it in the estimates. These are the top doctors down there. Sorry. This last year it was 90, this year is 99, including 20 consultants and 11 senior registrars, which is the next stop level, just below the consultants. So out of the 99 of them, you have 1/3 of them being senior registrars or consultants with different specialities. And let me just say this. A lot of our doctors and nurses, a lot of our specialists in the public health system, they are Cubans. As you know, recently the United States government to the State Department issued a statement that they are going to made an announcement that under the law, they're going to tighten the issuance of visas for countries which are, quote unquote, for individuals in government, like ministers of government were involved and top officials who are engaged in what they say complicit activity. That is to say, getting Cubans to come to the health services. Because according to the Americans, the current government in the United States, and I have all respect, as all of us must do have, for the government which is elected by the people of the United States, that because Cuba, when they send out their, when we engage Cuban doctors, for instance, there's some people in the U.S. Congress, mainly out of Florida, I'm told, and thus some in the State Department, say that it's human trafficking. You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't understand that. I think CARICOM as a whole has to explain that to our American friends.
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
Because we pay the Cubans. There's no exploitation by us of the Cubans. Mm-hmm. The argument by the United States, I understand, is that a small percentage of the Cubans' salary, I don't know if it's 10% or what, go to the Cuban government. I don't know the details of that, but let us assume that that is so. Cuba pays its doctors, trains its doctors for free. Mm-hmm. So if you're traveling overseas on a program where you are going to get a salary, it is not unreasonable to get back some money to the government which trained you if you're going to, quote unquote, profit from it outside. Huh?
Of course.
It's like a bond which we put on for our students who go away. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's like a withholding tax, which is paid if an entertainer comes here and performs, they have to pay a withholding tax on their salary. Different governments have different kinds of levies. There has to be some misunderstanding on this, because if you were to cut that off, a lot of health services in the Caribbean will suffer greatly and people will die.
Mm-hmm.
Guyana, Jamaica, I believe they're the largest ones, but certainly the OECS countries too. Haiti, people who don't want to go to Haiti to work, Cubans go there. And then, of course, we train our doctors and nurses, and they go to America and Canada and England. Huh?
Exactly.
So you get the benefit of our training. Huh? And now if we are importing persons and from where they send, they say, well, listen to me, you have to contribute to the training of the next group of doctors and nurses. I don't see how this becomes exploitative. Epijan?
I agree with you.
No, you take hemodialysis. Let's take hemodialysis in Georgetown. The 60 persons. Though we have Vincentians there, and we have Vincentians there who are trained in Cuba. But it is overseen largely by Cuban professionals. If they're not there, we can't get people from elsewhere. Are we going to let 60 people die? How could a policy be effective, which is going to result in the deaths of people? Are you? And strangely enough, there are people in this country who are gloating about that. They say Ralph would lose his visa to America. Yeah? You know what I mean? And Jimmy Prince as the Minister of Health. Yeah? And maybe the Chief Medical Officer.
And the Chief Radiographer.
Yeah?
It's
you know, I think I don't think there's a sufficient understanding by our brothers and sisters who shape this policy in the US government, and we have to let them understand it.
Yeah.
You know, because I think that once they understand it, I would expect reasonableness in response.
But Mr. PM, I read a comment from a local prominent physician who was questioning the presence of medical professionals who don't speak English in the health service. I don't know if they ever came across you in any way. And what are your thoughts on it?
I saw that. And what we seek to do is that to make sure that the persons whom we do get, that they speak English sufficiently to understand what their patients are saying. And if there's a case which arises that someone comes who doesn't have the facility to that extent, we ask them to be returned. And increasingly, as Chevron knows, when we're doing the recruiting, personnel from here go to Cuba to help to do the interviewing, to do the checks now.
Okay.
And even in my department, PM, some of our radiographers were trained in Cuba. So they have Vincentians who speak Spanish as well. So we don't have that challenge. We are able to communicate with both the members of the Cuban Brigade.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I just want, because these, unless you discuss these public policies, Pijan, in a very open and honest way, what you have is misunderstandings. Oh, there are several things which we need to do in the medical profession as we need to do in the legal profession. We have laws regulating medical practitioners in St. Vincent and Grenadines. But as far as I'm aware, there is no specific provision in the law, for instance, requiring that doctors be kept up to date, medical professionals, with the recent developments in medicine and research. Read the journals, do some online refresher courses. Because, Pijan, if all you basically learn, you continue to learn is what you passed your exam with 20 years ago, you may have a problem. You'll have experience, but you may not have the cutting edge knowledge in a number of areas, in diagnostics and in treatment, including new pharmacological products that come on the market. You see the point I'm making?
Yes, yes.
But the discussion has gone there because I had to raise this other question in relation to what our brothers and sisters or their friends in the United States, something which has been, well, you've seen the release to Cecil.
Yeah, we've all, I think,
But Mr. PM, I know the diplomatic language, but I put asterisks as to their friends at this stage.
Well, they are our friends.
No, but there was a meeting this week gone, which a Zoom meeting with foreign ministers discussing that matter. And there's going to be, we agree there has to be a regional approach, and the data as to all the information is being gathered with every single aspect of the program across the region, so that it will be collated and shown to our American friends. No, we go back. At the hospital, well, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, something which is underrated is the extent of medical missions, the value they provide. The most distinguished of these medical missions is, of course, the World Pediatric Project. Next year, later this year, it's 25, or next year it's 25 years. We are organizing with the World Pediatric Project for a side meeting at the United Nations. Ambassador King, our UN ambassador, is involved in this. And I've had discussions with the executive head of the World Pediatric Project, plus the local person who is in charge. And we're going to have a side event at the United Nations General Assembly where they will present what they are doing, what they have been doing in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and what they've been providing free of charge for us. Let me just say, by the way, I want to thank the American authorities for facilitating patients who are leaving from here to go to Cuba, to go to America under the World Pediatric Project program. for instance. Well, St. Vincent and Grenadines is the headquarters for this program. And for those persons who don't know, it is to provide critical pediatric care for persons aged 1 day right up to 21 years. Just think of this. You get in first world critical pediatric care. They were just here a few weeks ago. They have a permanent presence here. They were just here a few weeks ago, and they had 30-odd surgeries, you know. You hear that, Cecil?
Yeah.
All of them free.
I read about. That's true.
All of them free. Imagine getting free critical pediatric care. And if you look at the ages from birth to 21, John, you're talking about 1/4 of the population of the country. Mm-hmm. If 1/4 of the population of the country can get free pediatric care, first world treatment, what children and young persons in New York, Philadelphia, Chicago can't get.
Mm-hmm.
We getting it free.
Prime Minister, some of these patients come in from across the OECS as well?
Yes. And they come across the whole of the Caribbean.
Okay.
They come from across the whole of the Caribbean, including not just the OECS, but including Barbados, Guyana, Suriname. The only place I don't think they've had a patient from yet is Trinidad and Tobago. I could be corrected about that. Mm-hmm. And they have done, since 2001 here, and I have to remember Sir Frederick Nathaniel Ballantyne, who was instrumental in helping for us to get and keep our former Governor General to get the WPP. But that's only one medical mission. There are others. Dr. Heron Patel, with his work in neurosurgery, he will come down with his team, again free, for a week, 10 days, and we'll do a couple dozen neurosurgical operations. There are other teams which come, and what we do, this government, since we came to office, we have involved them, put them within the system for that they're not sideshows. Like, for instance, WPP. The days when they're coming, the hospital administrator knows, the medical director of the hospital knows, so that one of the operating theaters is reserved for their work. And they have provided specialist equipment also in that operating theater. It's remarkable what is taking place in these things, but what happens among some persons? John, lots of us, including myself, we don't take enough care of our own self, our own health, which we have a responsibility to do. And we eat what we want, we drink what we want, we smoke as much as we want, we do everything. And when we get sick, we expect a doctor to perform a miracle. There are persons who know that they have diabetes or hypertension, and they will continue to eat the same foods, drink the rum the same way, do everything with their diabetes. And then when the silent killer take you down, you expect the doctor to perform an absolute miracle. Sometimes they do, but there's a limitation to what medicine can do. You understand me? Sometimes, yes, go ahead.
I was going to ask about the state of mental health service and the quest to find a permanent psychiatrists.
Yes. Well, we have been trying to do this. I've myself personally asked the St. James School of Medicine if they can help us to recruit 1 or 2 psychiatrists. We have asked other entities. What has been proposed as a short stop in this regard is to do some work do psychiatric work by telemedicine, by Zoom now.
Okay.
Because, I mean, we got, for instance, a wonderful lady from India to work with us, and within a few months we lost her to one of the medical schools as a teacher. I think she's still available for some consultancies, and that is our challenge. We have a couple of people who are away who are studying psychiatry. So we are hoping that they will come back. But it's an area in which we are having a difficulty getting the recruitment. And this is an important question to Pigeon, because it affects some cases which come to the criminal justice system. Because defenses, a person having to be a defense, a person may have available to them of insanity or diminished responsibility. Those defenses may not practically be available to them if they don't have that particular assessment. You see the point I'm making?
Yes.
But we are working assiduously in this, and you make progress, and then you get headway, and then the person leaves, and so on and so forth. But we have a couple of persons overseas who are being trained. There are some things which people don't look at in relation to health. Is the pretty good condition of public health broadly in the country. Central to that public health is, of course, the availability of good, clean, cheaply delivered water in people's homes. In 2001, you had 70% of the people only who had pipe-borne water. You know, Pijan?
Yes.
And that was 70% of 20-something thousand houses. Now you have 46,000 plus houses, and you have 98% of them with pipe-borne water. When we came to office, there was a program which the then government had of digging pit toilet for people. Well, some people still have pit toilet, but it's a very small number compared to other numbers before, because you can rest assured that if only 70% of the houses which had water, it is obvious that they wouldn't have a flush toilet. And even some who had water, they had a standpipe, they had a pipe only in the yard, not inside of the house. So they too had pit toilets. Nowadays, if you go into a secondary school and it would be a test pitch and you're a teacher, when last you went into the classroom?
Go ahead.
What, 5 years ago, 7 years ago?
About 2.5 years ago.
2.5, okay, well, it's not so bad then. The last time when you were teaching the students, think of it, how many of them would have come from homes that have pit toilet?
Most of them.
Would have been a tiny minority of them.
No, well, pit toilet you said, right?
Pit toilet.
I don't think they've ever seen one, so most of them.
Well, that's the point I'm making. Will you confirm in the point
They probably heard about it.
Public health, you know.
Yes.
You know, you can look at all of these elements and the training that we are putting in for the money we're spending on training of persons in the medical field, not only doctors and nurses, but other areas. We train our nurses. We give them practically a free nursing education, and we pay them $1,000 a month as a stipend, so that they be able to keep body and soul together, to ensure that poor people's children, working people's children, can go into nursing, for instance. All these are amazing developments when people, and that's why we talk about a health and wellness revolution in the country, and people are living longer, people are living healthier. When Siobhan Stewart said that that the services are decentralized, for instance, x-rays and ultrasounds. About a year ago, I needed to have an x-ray because I got a pain somewhere, and my doctor said, listen, let's get an x-ray to see if everything is okay with you. Turned out, thank God, that everything was okay with me. It was just a passing thing. But I had a choice of going to Kingston or going to Bucament.
Remember that.
I asked, where is it? Is quicker for me to get it done on a timely basis now. There would have been more people waiting at Kingston, Chevron.
Yes.
So they tell me, actually it was a holiday. And I went Bucament, and the staff were there. And they didn't go there because Ralph was coming. They were there all the time. And even the payment for pharmaceuticals. About a year and a half ago, I went to Georgetown Modern Medical, which is a fantastic facility in so many different respects. And the doctor gave me a prescription. And she told me just go to the pharmacy. It was a Cuban doctor. I went to the pharmacy at the Modern Medical. And when I presented my 2 prescriptions, I took money out of my pocket to pay. And the young pharmacist was there, smiled at me and teased me. He said, Prime Minister, are you not going to follow your own rules? I said, what are these now? We don't take any money from the elderly. But if somebody were to pay, it's $5 they would have pay.
Mm.
I mean, this is, I'm Pigeon in pharmaceuticals. We spend over $15 million a year for pharmaceuticals and ordinary supplies now. But we have to constantly be improving.
Prime Minister, can you clarify? Somebody sent a note saying, perhaps Stuart, maybe you could. There are doctors who use Modern Medical Facility and charge $800 for colonoscopy.
They can't do that.
That's what the person wrote.
You mean a private? There's a private. You mean to say there's a private doctor who send somebody up, they charge them, and they only pay. The amount which the doctor will pay to the hospital is $40, but they collect the other $760 for themselves.
Well, that's what I assume. The person didn't clarify, but that's the message that came in.
No. Well, I have to ask. I think she knows that anybody is doing that.
Yes.
But I hope to God that there's no such doctor who is so rapacious.
I know. And that's why I read it. That's why I read, and the person responded saying, yes, PM.
So you paying the
so let me
doctor
understand.
$800, and the doctor pays the.
Well, I don't know if the person the message reads as follows. There are doctors who use the modern medical facility and charge $800 EC for colonoscopy.
Well, what you may have happening to, you may have doctors who are not, some may be working in the state sector in their private practice, but you have some persons who are purely private practitioners, not involved in who may be acting in a parasitic way over the state system.
Could well be, yes.
In other words, they play on the ignorance of the person. The person doesn't know that they can go themselves.
Yes.
and just pay $40 rather than $800. Well, I'm glad that has arisen, because one of the ways to stop some of these rapacious persons, people who just want to rip off people, is for the information to be known.
Yes, yes.
And of course, if somebody does that and it comes to the attention of the medical council, those are grounds under the existing law for the medical council to act.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because you can't tell me that you do the colonoscopy and the result goes to the doctor. The doctor up in modern medical would explain what the results are in their document now.
Yes.
In their report. So wait. So all that the private doctor does is to read that, and they get $760.
Well,
but that's I love a thing.
And this person,
that's robbery without violence.
The person who shared that information is a very responsible, and I know the person, and he's a very responsible person, and he.
Yeah, well, I'm very glad that is raised. Yes. But oh God. Anyway, I go check it. I go check that. I'll inquire. I'm glad you raised it with me.
Yes.
I'm glad the person informed you. But that doesn't change the fact about the nature of what we have. You know what I mean? It's just that somebody wants to try to beat the system in a very awful way.
Yes.
There are other things we can talk about this. Now, I want to just touch on one matter of policy. The opposition party in this country, you hear them every year, Pigeon. Every election time they say, we are going to improve the delivery of health services in the country by having a national health insurance system and put it through the NIS. But, Pigeon, when they say I say, well, how much you will charge additional? Let the employer pay 1% more, and the employee pay 1% more to go towards a health system. The point of the matter is that if you do that, all you will be doing is given the contributions, just about $1 million. Pigeon.
Okay.
All you're doing is you're not going to have a menu of products to be covered by the insurance if that is all you're doing, because it's over $100 million we're spending already. Pigeon?
Yeah.
So for you to have it to make an impact, you will have to charge a higher amount of people's salaries. So what they'll be doing in effect is to impose a tax indirectly and working people to get exactly the same treatment what people get in free now. The base of persons at the NIS, which is 40-something thousand persons, is just too small to sustain an effective, meaningful national health insurance system. You have to find other creative ways, like what we're talking about, these medical missions and so on and so forth, to help out to reduce costs. No. They will tell you that such and such a place has a health insurance system, but they don't tell you how much the workers have to pay and what is the menu of products. I have suggested that what we should do in the OECS, I make the point all the time at the OECS authority, that's to say the heads of government meeting of the OECS, let all the OECS countries have a national health insurance system. So you enlarge the pool of persons, Pigeon, so that the extent of the premium which you have to pay would be less. And also to join it with a private insurance company which may be operating out of Trinidad or Barbados, out of both places. The larger the number of persons who are involved in it, the more the risks would be spread, and the smaller the premium. Pigeon?
Yes, I understand.
But you see, fellas are not interested in serious public policy. Fellas are interested in just nonsensical talk, which doesn't have, and they talk about a report which had come from some UWI economists, which this government, when we came to office, and I know the people who were involved, we interrogated that report thoroughly, and found that from a practical financial standpoint, it wasn't going to make a great deal of sense. It's not. In running these small countries, you have to be very creative, Pigeon.
Yeah.
And there's not much scope for error, That's why you need leadership of energy and will, vision and skill, plus an X factor, which is what the young lady whom you have, the chief radiographer, that's what she possesses. Energy and will, vision and skill. Plus an X factor.
And plus Pigeon, Prime Minister, plus, but I won't say what the pluses are. But yes,
well,
we tested out already.
She's a steward from Union Island, and she's a Derry from Canavan,
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay, so that's the bloodline. That's the bloodline.
It's Gussie Darisha girl,
Okay.
She got all the kindness and love, like Gussie from Gussie's the man who has run Gemstar,
Okay.
Listen to me. If somebody's body has to go from the hospital here, let's say a dead body, they will charge, somebody go charge $200-300 to take it on the boat to take it down Canavan or Union. You go there, the fellow who is collecting the money say, well, it's $300, but gosh, she said, no, man, give me what you have. Even though you don't have anything, we'll take the body. That's the generosity of spirit.
Okay.
Which pervades that young lady you're talking to there,
Business. A charitable business.
A charitable business. But before I go, Cecil, I don't know if you saw an assessment letter from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, for the World Bank.
Well, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't read it yet, but I heard you commenting on it. But I haven't read it yet. I know it came to me.
All right. Well, we had okayed the publication. The date for this is February the 18th. We have made an application against Pigeon for another installment of the catastrophe deferred drawdown option at the World Bank called the CAT-DDO. You remember we had the CAT-DDO when we had Soufre. 20 million US. In other words, we borrow money at the World Bank, we leave the money there for the rainy day, just in case there's a natural disaster. Because you've heard me many times say, listen, on the contingency fund, which we set up with a 1 percentage point of the VAT, we have $50 million which we can take from that, and we have a $54 million from the World Bank which we can just draw down on if a natural disaster commit. You have in your hand right away over $100 million to do things until you catch yourself with other monies now. Extra money is at hand now, Pigeon. Because you have to deal with other relief things, recovery things immediately. So we are going for another CAT-DDO, and we have to certain requirements, like for instance, 1:40 morning in Parliament. Remember, we passed the amendment to the physical planning laws of the country. The World Bank says, well, we need to see you do some more work on that and strengthen that area. Fine, there is no problem. We do that. When the other fellows are complaining that Ralph is being selfish, taking them 40 morning, I had deadlines to meet, Pigeon. You can't run government for old talk, You have to do serious work, This is not lazy man business. This is people who have to do serious work. But one of the requirements, too, is for the IMF to give an assessment letter to the World Bank. And this assessment letter updates the 2024 Article 4 staff report for St. Vincent, which was published in July last year. And there are five paragraphs of relevance in this assessment letter. The first paragraph reads, because the World Bank wants to know if you're handling resources sensibly now, and if you're doing things which are sensible, they don't want to lend you money, we're going to throw it down a hole, a rabbit hole. They want to know it's going to make an impact if you have a disaster. So, this is the first point they make. First paragraph. Despite the severe physical damage from Hurricane Beryl in July 2024, growth continued to be robust and the overall economic outlook is favorable. Initial reports by the World Bank suggested losses and damages in the order of 20 to 25% of gross domestic product. Nevertheless, as the hurricane hit during low tourism season and with economic centers largely spared, the economy is estimated to have grown in 2024 by 4.8%. So we have nearly $1 billion. The World Bank said 800 and something million EC dollars, or estimated about $1 billion in economic loss and damage by Beryl. But look at the IMF says that the growth continued to be robust and the overall economic outlook is favorable. If I'm writing an exam and the examiner says, despite all the difficulties, you're doing well and the outlook is favorable. Pigeon, these are not people who have a dog hunting in the race here, Wouldn't you say that's a good report?
Thanks, so.
Second paragraph. Following the wider than projected fiscal deficit in 2024, mainly due to the hurricane response efforts, the deficit is set to notably narrow in 2025, but remain high. You heard Camilla said that in his budget speech. You hear me say that in my budget speech. You heard me at the UN when I said that we have to spend more money than we are collecting. The debt will go up, the fiscal deficit will widen, but the fiscal deficit is still manageable and the debt is still manageable. But I prefer DEBT to DEACH. You haven't heard me on that?
Yeah.
That's what this paragraph is saying. Similarly, item 3. Fiscal policy should continue to focus on building buffers and supporting resilience and inclusive growth while safeguarding public debt sustainability. Well, things what we did. We set up the contingency fund. We're doing for Cat DDO. We build NEMO. These are all part of a disaster risk financing strategy. But what the other side saying? They will cut the VAT by 3 percentage points, which not going to affect the prices in the stores and the supermarket, because most of the inflation is imported. And there's nowhere in which I had VAT or sales tax reduced that the supermarkets or the merchants who sell clothing or anything else drop their prices. All you're going to do, the supermarket owners and the merchants would laugh all the way to the bank. Meanwhile, the government would lose about $60 million a year. You see why these fellas are not, you see why I tell you these fellas can do arithmetic, but they can't count? Then, 4th paragraph, sustaining structural reform efforts is critical to address supply-side bottlenecks, enhance labor market performance, and build resilience against natural disasters, which is part of our public policy. And the 5th one, the financial system remains sound, but efforts need to continue to reduce balance sheets, vulnerabilities, and strengthen regulatory and supervisory frameworks. Now, the main bank in the country is the Bank of St. Vincent and Grenadines. Their bad loans is only 4.5% of their entire loan portfolio, which is below the international best practice of 5%. Some of the other commercial banks are a little higher, and we have to continue our efforts to reduce balance sheet vulnerabilities. That's why we're going to the Parliament further on Wednesday, on Thursday, to strengthen the Banking Act. That's why we set up the Financial Services Authority. Pijan? Okay. That's why we acted in relation to building and loan the way we acted. Government is serious business for serious people, you know. And this election year, I want everybody to see people who are serious, people who have been handling things in a favorable way, and those who just shoot in the breeze. We are on the right track. We are on the right track with health. We are on the right track with the economy. We are on the right track with all the serious matters of public policy. And today, we got a masterclass presentation from Chevron Stewart. And I want to thank her publicly too for work which she has been doing even during her, you know that she's on leave, work she has been doing in the Southern Grenadines. She's been going down there to help persons with their own problems, and she has gone down to the Southern Grenadines for the last 2 occasions with me. When I go down this week, I'm going again. I hope she has time, and if she, because she's touching base with people and addressing real life problems for human beings.
Sounds like returning to her roots, Prime Minister.
Returning to her roots.
Yes.
I notice the NDP is nervous about what is happening in the Southern Grenadines, if I would make one political point. before I go.
Yes.
I see Leacock is making a case. He said the case for the re-election of Terence Oliver. They used to take that for granted. Now he's making a case, but the case is so weak that Terence did talk about in Parliament once about a secondary school for Canawan. He did talk about this other thing. Man could always talk about this, that, or the other, you know. Because at the moment, it's who is doing. And I tell you this, the NDP in the Southern Grenadines today is entirely irrelevant to the lives of the people of the Southern Grenadines. And what natural disasters do. Some people who are hitherto relevant and organizations become irrelevant. And they're fighting for their relevance. And this thing by Leacock is trying to make Terence Oliver irrelevant again. But that ship has sailed.
PM, I just want to share again what somebody, a listener, said about Miss Stewart. Says, I'm very impressed on how articulate, competent, and knowledgeable she is. All the best to her.
Thank you.
I wish her all the best in all her endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you would have seen. Look, we have some fantastic professionals in the field of health, you know, and in the case of the women, we had Audrey calling in this morning. We have Grace Walters, Dr. Walters, we heard her. Now we have Siobhan. And there are others too, you know. It's beautiful what's happening.
By the way, Prime Minister, even as you mentioned Dr. Walters is and what she's doing, I read a speech she made, it must have been last week. I read it in the newspaper. And I think, in my view, in my humble view, it's one of it's the simplest of language she's using that speech. And it sounds to me to be very effective. And the delivery, it seems to me, is a masterpiece. I usually look at the way people write and I read them, and that piece by her, that one by her,
listen,
is a masterpiece.
She was not launched as the candidate. She was at the school in Sandy Bay for the constituency to say whether they recommending her to the central executive of the party to be the candidate. And she delivered a speech which was absolutely electrifying. And you had rain. You had the electricity went. We had a small generator that conked out. We had to get a bigger generator. All that was happening, you know. And rather than people leaving, the numbers just grew and grew and grew.
Mm-hmm.
The whole of the quadrangle at the primary school was jam-packed. And you had more people outside. It was, and as I pointed out, when you have something as impressive as that those on the other side, they'll be completely buzzardy. And when people don't have any way out, you know, when they buzzardy, pigeon, the first thing they just think about is to go buy a Obia man to take a bath.
Okay. Some people go between the fresh and the salt, Prime Minister.
Well, boy, I never go buy a Obia man, so I wouldn't know. But that in fact is when you don't have any way out now. You revert to superstition. Yes. Let me leave
All
you.
right.
And I thank you very much. I big you up, Miss Siobhan Stewart.
Thank you, PM.
God bless you.
She's doing a wonderful job at the hospital.
Thank
God
you.
bless.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Well, Stuart, there's not much more we can say. I mean, the wonderful job you're doing at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital in the radiology department. Yeah, I've had a taste of it, and I'm sure a number of other people have had a taste of it. It's a wonderful job, and other people have sent messages to that effect. And I would like to wish you all the best. Well, it came out this morning, your delivery of the work of your performance. It spoke for itself this morning. So I did not say much more. But do you may wish to make some final remarks before we tie up? I see Marlon ready here to drive us out, but he understands. Yes.
I just want to thank you guys for having me on the program. I'd like persons to know that radiology service, like I said, we have both walking and appointments based on the modality, based on what type of examination you're having. Feel free to come to the department, find out or give us a call if you're unable to come to schedule an appointment. If you need to have an MRI appointment, you can make that through Modern Medical, or we could facilitate the process for you in Kingstown. For our CT scans are done by appointments. You can come down or give us a call to make that appointment. X-ray is a walk-in service. Ultrasound in Kingstown are by appointment. In Modern Medical, they have a walk-in service. In Bookament, they have a walk-in service. Levi Latham has both walk-in and appointments. Beckway has appointments. If you're in doubt, give us a call at the main department at MCMH, and we will be able to facilitate or help you navigate our services.
Mm-hmm. And you said before the end of this year, you expect to have things in place in Union Island, you said?
Yes, hopefully before the end of, we were aiming for first quarter, but as I said, the lead is beginning to give us a challenge. So we hope that at least by mid-year, that room should be up and running. We have the equipment already. All we're waiting on is to source the lead to be able to move on with the project.
And I hope the lead gets lighter.
Yes, I hope we
I hope it gets lighter.
Is the hospital number still 61185?
Yes,
45611185.
Yes, and you get the receptionist, and you can just ask the operator, and you can just ask to be transferred to the radiology department.
And just in case I don't get there before you, I want to give a bounce fist to
Saeed and
Miss Surgeon, yeah.
Yes, and all impressed. Of the staff, what at Modern Medical or where.
Just those two I've worked with, eh?
Yes.
And I mean, they've given me service recently, so I remember. And Saeed was so fluent in Spanish. I was so impressed. He was there communicating.
Miss Surgeon is fluent in Spanish as well.
I didn't hear her speak in Spanish. Oh, yes. Okay. So I'd really appreciate you giving a bounce to both of them in particular. But generally, I know Miss Miller Walker at
Modern
I
Medical.
really know about her. I've dealt with her in many respects, so I know about her.
Yes.
Also. So again, thank you very much for sharing a big part of your day with us this morning on WEFM and Easier Hand. We do appreciate. And if at any point in the future you want something you want to get across to the population, just feel free to give us a call.
Okay.
We're trying to communicate to you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much again.
All right. Bye.
Yeah. So yes, Pijan, that was good. I hope, and let me say this now, I hope that those who are on social media and way to clip, they could clip out aspects of this program this morning and share it. No, I'm serious. Share it. I mean, it's a kind of patriotic thing you'd be doing. You and I come down here and we consider what you do as being patriotic, to come here and inform, make sure we inform our listeners about things that are happening in the country. It's just a small thing. Even if it takes, 5 seconds of what was said this morning, just put it on your Facebook page, and share the good news, basically. So yes, next week, Pigeon, I told you I want to come and talk about, not all the program, of course, but talk about Captain Ibrahim Ibrahim Traore, president of Bukana.
I would agree to that if I get a chance to talk about Trump.
Okay. Well, he's always there. We always bring him in. We can always bring him in. He's ever present in our space.
He's like a geographical phenomenon in itself.
I know. All right. In the meantime, Peter, we've had a good program, very good program today. And we want to thank again Ms. Stewart for coming in and sharing with us. And we want to wish all our listeners on WEFM and Star FM and by extension Gulf Radio have a very pleasant day. We thank also Prime Minister for calling in and supporting the program this morning, and all the other people who called in. Brother Brown, he called in, and Brother John called in as well. We thank all of you, all the others, and we will try to fulfill that request by the lady who calls and asks about fibroids, and the doctor. Yeah, we'll try to accommodate her. And there's a person who sent the message from Barbados to ask about cataract surgery. So she knows that, according to the chief medical officer, that she can come over to Vincy and have your matter dealt with. Vincy is a lovely place, always warm and friendly and all of that. On behalf of all of us, we thank you very much and we wish you a very pleasant afternoon. My name is Cecil Ryan.